Yes, here we are.
Hello.
Hey, guys.
How's it going?
The fellas are back.
Squad has returned.
I love it.
I am super pumped for this.
How's everyone doing?
Too. I'm great, man. I mean, I'm just happy we're here.
Yeah, it's cool. A little bit of a hiatus, but we're good.
Yeah, we did. We took a little hiatus. I was going to look like it's been a while. It's been it's been a while since we did a show, and part of that is because I guess we all started working again, right? I mean, it's the nature of this industry.
First, I want to say what's up, Chris Disk, in the house already. Loving it.
Yes. There we go. Let me get that up there. Chris Disk back in the house. You have me concerned. Don't worry about us, man. We're all good, brother. We're all good. So yeah, the last time we did a show, guys, was July 13th of 2021. Can you believe that?
It's been a minute.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
That's wild.
It's just amazing how much time has gone by since then, right? But all that doesn't matter. We're back again. We are going to be doing shows almost every Tuesday. We've got a lineup now from tonight until the end of June already.
Yep.
All right. Yeah. Your boy's been putting in work.
Oh my
Shout out to David.
I got one person. I got one show.
Yeah, your boy's been putting in work to get us some phenomenal guests. If you're new to the show, if you have never watched the show before or listened to us, because you'll also be able to hear this afterwards on any podcast channel that maybe you subscribe to. Wedding business growth we've always said, it's about two things. Number one, it's about community. It's important to us to really make sure that we have a good community of wedding professionals, no matter what you do in the industry. It's we just want to be a place of community for you to come to and hopefully learn and also contribute in the comments. Let us know, Chris Diss checked in with us, whoever else is checking in, let us know what's up. Let us know who you are out there watching. If you have questions, feel free to fire those off in the comments as well. Number 2 is education. It's important for us to help bring on people that are going to help not only our viewers and our listeners grow, but we can all grow together, right, guys? I mean, I think that's what it's all about, is helping everybody come up.
That's it.
Absolutely. I mean, it couldn't be that's been the goal of the show since before I got to join it. We all kind of aligned when we crossed paths, and I'm grateful that been able to call both of you friends over the last year plus now. I'm very thankful the show is officially back. Do me one favor, David. I don't know if you have it still, but can you share with people on Facebook, if they're tuning in through Facebook, how we can see their comments? Are we doing Facebook?
Yeah, I don't think we have to do that. We're using a new program now, so I think that we can. I think we can see them now.
Oh,
yeah,
I didn't even realize. Oh, my bad.
Yeah,
I didn't even notice we were using a different app.
Yeah, we are. We're using a new program now. So if you're watching from Facebook right now, type a comment in and let's see if it works. Because as far as I know, I think it does. I think it works now. I don't think we have any issues with that.
Well, that's awesome. See, look, that's what I get that's what happens when we don't have a show. I don't even know we're using something new.
That's all right. Well, let's just real quick, Frank, how's your year shaping up? How's things looking for you, man?
So 2021 was crazy. Did my first official out of state gig. It was something I had never really tried to do, honestly. Just always had enough business locally. I had a couple that came to me from a wedding that I had done in 2020. They were like, please, 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 we don't want anybody else. I was like, all right, I'm down. It really worked out because they booked some stuff that I've never had or that I bought last year new. So we got to use that. I got pictures, I got videos. That's all good. 2022 is shaping up really well. Anybody who's tuned into the show previously knows that I have a day job. And so I'm actually limiting my bookings for 2022. So I'm about to be at my cap. I'll have a little bit of room for that two crazy events that pop up where I'm just I can't turn them down. But in the meantime, I'm trying to cap myself so I can be more available to myself, my family, my wife, my kids, right? Everybody. I just want to make sure that I'm keeping a fair balance. And I think that 2021 not intentionally made me realize that maybe I was stretching myself too thin. I need to pull back a little bit. So that's what my 2022 is looking like.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. And I think that's
really
I think
cool.
that's great that you're in a position to where you can kind of create that balance of this is how many jobs I want to work. This is, knowing that you have a full-time job obviously helps with, you're not really necessarily looking at this as your main source of income. So I think it frees up that opportunity. But I think you also set a good example for people out there who maybe, are in the same position. They have a full-time job. They love DJing. They enjoy DJing. And it just helps explain and understand that it's okay to have that balance. You can still have fun and do what you love doing, but don't lose sight of all the other things that are part of your life as well. And I think what you said is very true. 2021 really kind of showed all of us that.
Yeah. So it was a good thing. But yeah, other than that, man, everything's good. Kids are growing up, right? Excited if baseball comes back. Feel like my team's going to be good this year. Yep. Football, not so much. Basketball, not so much. Maybe I'll get lucky with hockey. Since we're all sports nuts over here. But yeah, man, 2021 has been good. 22 is looking up. What about you, Nick? What's yours look like?
Dude, that's awesome to hear, man. I'm super stoked for you that you're booked up and you got that balance. For me too, I would say balance is a huge thing for me as well. Just learning how to manage. As we're getting busier. I haven't had a normal year in my own business yet. With COVID and everything, man. I started this in COVID, so yeah. I haven't had a normal year yet. So 2022 is shaping up to be a great year. And like you said, balance, just learning, continually learning, growing with everyone, and coming up together and sharing the love. I think those are my goals for sure for 2022. So it's been a blessing.
Yeah, love that.
Well, I was going to say the same thing. You beat me to it. I was literally going to say the same thing. So what about you, David?
Man, you guys both know me. I go 100 miles an hour. I think I'm like an octopus. My hands are in everything. I admit some days that I probably bite off more than I can chew, but I have been really prioritizing and just not allowing myself to be overwhelmed. You know what I mean? Like just, I feel that if I just jot down, I have, let me see. So I have this 2022 life planner, and, you know, this thing I can write every single day. I just write down, you know, what all I'm doing and what all I need to get accomplished. And I can just scratch it out as I go. And I try to prioritize it. Sometimes I try to do it like the day before, look at my calendar, think about what I got to do, and then just jot it down in order of priority. And then other times I just mind dump on there, and then I just go through stuff as I can. So, you know, I'm excited about all the things that we're all collectively doing, that we're all individually doing. And I think that we're going to have a lot of great opportunities to help people in growing their businesses at whatever capacity they want to. And I love being able to do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I'm super excited that we're back to doing this. I really am. It's refreshing. You know, it don't get me wrong. Like, it was nice to take a break, but it also probably extended on a little bit longer than I think all three of us thought it would.
Yeah.
You know, just in full transparency to the audience, that wasn't the plan, you know, but we got busy, and, you know, as everybody in the wedding industry did. And I'm glad that we've been able to circle back and, you know, try to come up with a format and a way of doing this that's going to be able to let us make this be, you know, long-term. And if there is ever a break, I don't anticipate it would be that long again.
Yeah, I mean, and I mean, the reality is that's the beauty of the fact I mentioned it earlier, and it's still the case. Like, you know, you've got three people here that hosting the show, and just about every single one of our guests are people that work in this industry. So, you know, it's not people that are like so above the industry, and you know, maybe we worked whatever it is we did for a while, and now we've moved into this other realm. Like, we are all working every weekend just about as well, you know.
Yep.
and during the week some, you know, that brings me to the point that, you know, in the past we've tried to do shows every single Tuesday. That put a strain on all three of us, and we finally just said, you know what, if a Tuesday comes up that we can't do a show, then we're just going to not do one, you know. And so right above us here, you'll see our Tux Club up there. If you haven't joined our Tux Club, be sure to text it just text your name. That's all you have to do. Just text your name to that number, and that way we can notify you. If you're already part of the Text Club, you probably got a couple text messages today, just because we were excited about letting everybody know about the show. But this way we can let you know, if a show is happening, or if not, we'll send you a text. Hey, no show this week. We'll look forward to seeing you guys next week, kind of a deal, so we can keep the community informed about not only our shows, but other events where, you know, we're going to be working on putting together some live events, hopefully, that you guys might want to come to and join us, and just all kinds of things that we want to do moving into through this year, and then especially moving into next year. Anything you guys want to add to that before we get going?
David, you're a true wordsmith, so no. That was beautiful.
Awesome.
I second.
Awesome. Very good. All right. Well, let's, you know what? I said we were going to be 15 minutes, but you know what? We're 13 and a half minutes, so we're killing it, right? We're going to move right into our guests and get right into this tonight, because I'm super excited to have this conversation this evening. And before we bring her on, let me read our bio of our guest tonight. Our guest tonight is Heidi Thompson, and she is the best-selling author of Clone Your Best Clients and the founder of Evolve Your Wedding Business, where she helps wedding professionals grow six-figure businesses without working all the time. Lord, we can all have help with that, right? Her business and marketing expertise has been featured on several wedding business outlets, including the Huffington Post, Social Media Examiner, Wedding Business Magazine, Sprouting Photographer, Photo Biz Exposed, Honeybook, Wedding Wire Worldwide, and she's an advisory board member for the UK Academy of Wedding and Event Planning. Wow, that's pretty cool. She also is the creator and host of Book More Wedding Summit and the Wedding Business CEO Summit. So a lot of stuff going on. We're going to learn a lot today. We're going to be talking about becoming the CEO of your wedding business. And then a little bit later on, we're going to get into talking a little bit about managing burnout and, you know, when you don't have enough time and things like that. And I know she's got a lot of great advice on that. So with that being said, let's welcome our guest to join us today. This is Miss Heidi Thompson. How are you, Heidi?
I'm
Thanks
doing
for being with
well.
us.
How are you guys? Thank you so much for having me.
We're
Absolutely.
excited to have you. So did I do you pretty good justice with that bio? Did I miss anything?
I'd say so. It makes it sound pretty good.
I love it. I love
So
it.
I have a question. With all that you're doing, like, how did we even get any time from you for this? I mean, it just seems like you'd be so busy. Like, how do you find the time?
I'm very intentional with the way I spend my time. And I'm not doing all those things at any like one given time. But I think that's going to be a theme that comes up today is intention and really making sure that you're spending your time on things that are important. And when I say important, I mean are a driver to your goals. They actually help you get to where you want to go.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I just, I'm trying to be more intentional with my time in 2022. So I think this is a perfect way to kick it off. But I'll hand it back to David. You can go ahead and get rolling, David.
No, thank you. Absolutely. And obviously, you guys feel free to jump in anytime. We just want to keep this conversational. And, all right. So becoming the CEO of your wedding business, who wouldn't want to do that? I love that idea. And I think when we talk about a wedding business, it can be like a solopreneur situation. And I think sometimes people overlook that, but it's okay to be a solopreneur. And so let's just launch off from there, Heidi. I'd love to just hear a little bit about, your take on it.
So I think even if you are a solo business owner, there is a way for you to adopt a CEO mindset. And the way I talk about it a lot is you have to be two different people in your business when you're a solopreneur. You just have to learn how to do this in order to get things done. You have to be the CEO and you have to be the worker bee. And where I see a lot of people get stuck is they either don't spend time as the CEO. There's no queen bee telling the worker bees what's supposed to be happening, what the tasks are. Or they're trying to do both at the same time. And they're trying to strategize and plan and execute on plans all at the same time. So it turns into this like really overwhelming, jumbled mess. But one of the best things you can do for yourself is separate these kind of two modes of your brain. So if you think about it as the queen bee that's, running the hive is through pheromones telling the worker bees what needs to get done. So writing the orders, assigning the orders, really running the show. What you need to do in your business as that CEO, as that queen bee, is figure out, okay, what am I going to give worker bee me? What is important for worker bee me to accomplish this week, today? What is actually going to get us to our goals, the things that we want to accomplish, so that the worker bee you isn't just sitting down like, all right, I'm just going to start doing stuff randomly. And there's no intention. There's no, plan behind what you're doing. So it's really easy to spend a ton of time and get absolutely nothing done.
Yeah. Kind of that analysis paralysis. Like, I don't even know where to start type of a situation. I love that.
Right. Because you didn't give yourself, that work order of, okay, here's what we're doing today. Here's what we need to do. And it's weird when you're by yourself for sure, because you have to function as these two different people essentially. But it's so much easier if you separate time for those things. So if it's Monday morning, you're planning out how you're going to be spending time during the week, or Sunday night, just setting and looking at, okay, this is what's really important for me to accomplish this week. And then starting out the day, looking at those things and knowing, okay, this is what I need to do, step 1, step 2, step 3. So you don't run into that just frantic working for the sake of working mode.
Yeah. And I think people tend to have, a hard time separating those two things because it's weird. In a way, it's almost weird holding yourself accountable sometimes in that way, right? You running a business means one thing, you working your business means another thing, and being able to separate those two things and hold both sides accountable, it feels awkward, but I love your idea of writing it down. I think that's a great way of handling that separation of responsibility, is put it in writing over here, wake up the next day and assume that was your boss that just dropped it on your desk. Now get going and do what you got to do. So I love that idea. I think it's great.
And a really easy way to implement it is like a weekly CEO date with yourself. Just looking at, okay, what did I accomplish this week? Where did I lose time? Where did I get distracted? What didn't go well? And how can I create the plans for next week so that we're, a little bit more on track? Because I just want people to know, like, it's never going to be perfect. I talk about this all the time. There are days where I'm like, oh, yeah, I didn't do the thing that I should have been doing. And I got into the weeds and I spent a bunch of time doing something I shouldn't have been spending my time on. It's fine. It happens. It's just your ability to then show up tomorrow and do it differently and continue to like nudge yourself back. I don't know if you guys have ever done any meditation, but that's always a thing they tell you is like when your mind starts to wander, just guide it back because it's going to happen. Like you're going to fall off. You're going to get distracted, but learning, okay, this is how I get myself back on track. That's a powerful muscle to build.
Yes. Well,
how do you like
Frank, I was just going to mention real quick, Frank, your point earlier about accountability, I think is something that definitely should not be overlooked. And it's kind of a theme that I personally have for 2022. I mean, anybody who follows me on social media probably sees a little bit of a shift in that thing. Just because, like, to me, I think it's so important. And when we talk about accountability, sometimes that's the most difficult thing to do for yourself because it's easy to make excuses to yourself. It's easy to just let it, escape your head. So then sometimes people will say, okay, well, I'm going to have a family member or I'm going to have a friend be my accountability person. But the pitfall with that, though, is that's typically somebody who is going to kind of be more supportive, like, oh, that's okay, you can get it done, tomorrow or the next day or something like that. So, I would just encourage anybody that's struggling with this accountability piece to don't be afraid to reach out to somebody, a colleague in the industry, reach out to any one of us, and let us kind of help you, strategize with that accountability. Because when you have somebody who is an accountability partner that doesn't really have any stake in the game other than to help you be held accountable, then that level of responsibility mentally to yourself immediately rises. And then their commitment to the situation is, hey, I'm just here to hold your feet to the fire and say, did you get it done or not get it done? And if you didn't get it done, why didn't you get it done? And what can we change to make sure that you get it done the next time? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I find that's hard to do when you're on your own. You have to find that accountability. It's funny, as I've grown, the more things I've outsourced, the more things I've gotten off my plate and handed to other people, the more that built-in accountability has really helped because I know this person can't do their job until I get them what they need. And it's funny how much it actually gets you to do what you need to do in a way that you won't for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've noticed that in my own business, especially, in the video side of things, in editing. I've definitely noticed that for sure, and just, getting videos out to clients and having someone help with editing and stuff like that. Yeah, I could definitely attest to that.
Yeah, if you're not going to get your video back in time unless you get this to them like 5 days before you need it, it's like, all right, we need to do this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good stuff. What are some of probably the biggest pitfalls that maybe you see with folks that maybe you've worked with in the past? What are some of the pitfalls that maybe you've seen them fall into that you can maybe offer some help or advice on that in that regard?
In
terms of keeping yourself accountable or in
terms
I
think just adopting kind of this this CEO mindset, for example.
A lot of it is a lot of people have a resistance to making the time. And I say making the time because we all have time. You just have to carve it out of something else that you're already spending time on. And I think a lot of people don't realize how little time this kind of thing can actually take. For me, I like to get myself set up for the week by, looking at my calendar, looking at what I have coming up, looking at, what I need to be doing. It takes me like 15 minutes on a Sunday evening and I'm just looking at, okay, here's what I need to do. Here's what I need to focus on. Am I going to have time for this on this day? No. Okay, I'll put it on this day. I'm kind of scheduling things for myself, but it really does not have to take that much time at all. It's giving yourself, 10 or 15 minutes to just set the course and then allowing yourself to follow the course. So I definitely get a lot of people think like, oh, I don't have time. I'm not asking you to set aside like an entire day to do this. I'm asking you to set aside, 5 minutes in the morning or 15 minutes on a Sunday or a Monday just to really set yourself up to be more intentional with your time so that you're doing the things that you actually want to and need to be doing. And you're not, just constantly putting out fires.
Yeah, I think it's what's really hard for people is they take these really big tasks and they write them down and it seems overwhelming, right? It's like you have to break it down smaller than that, using like baby steps.
I was just talking to someone about this today. We have this really weird tendency to put like goals on our to-do list, like book 10 clients, or, for me, I'm hosting this summit coming up, like host summit. There's like 300 tasks inside of that. If I saw that on my to-do list, there is absolutely no way I would do anything because I wouldn't know what to do. So much of that is clarity and taking the things that you want to accomplish and breaking them down. So, if you want to improve your SEO, let's break it down into a 90-day plan. What do you need to do in month 1? Then, based on your schedule, what do you need to do in week 1 that's going to allow you to accomplish what you want to accomplish by the end of the year? But if you can't get it down into like, I kind of use like 2 hours as my metric of this is a task versus this is a project that needs to be broken down into, smaller things, then you are going to struggle because you're going to have absolutely no idea where to start with it. That is a really good point.
Yeah, absolutely. And, like with my day job, I can draw up a plan, but then I have somebody to bounce it off of. My boss, hey boss, here is this plan. What do you think? And of course, my boss sees holes in it that I did not see. When you're a solopreneur, like you are both of those people. So it's really hard for you to write it down and then pick it apart and see holes in it as well. So it's very challenging to do all those things and hold yourself accountable time-wise. So yeah, I've personally always used baby steps, but I love that idea, right? Like don't write the whole big thing down. Like what the big thing is. Now, what's all the reasonable steps that you can take to get there? I think that really helps people get, or that would help me get from point A to point B, whatever that is.
So much of it too is focusing on what you have control over versus the result which you don't have control over. So actually how I wound up here is by focusing on what I had control over. I reached out to David because one of the things that I know helps new people discover me, helps more people decide to work with me, is showing up on live streams, on podcasts. So what is the task for that? The task is to research and pitch 3 podcasts. The task isn't get discovered by, 100 new people. Like, I don't know how to do that. What I do know how to do is that like first domino in that series of dominoes. And I know if I keep taking that action, then it's going to knock down that series of dominoes. But focusing on the end is like, again, it's that lack of clarity of what do I even do with this? I don't know how to take action on it.
Well, and this brings up one of my favorite topics, which is reverse engineering. So, if you do want to take that end result, I don't think that there's anything wrong with that being a vision of yours, but I agree with what all of y'all are saying. Like that end result doesn't need to be on your day-to-day task. That end result needs to be, kind of way down at the far end and then chunk it back and then chunk it back. Like kind of like, what Heidi was saying. All right, if I want to get here, what's going to get me closer to there? And then, okay, so that's going to be that. Well, what's going to get me closer to there? That's going to be that. And by the time you dwindle it down to like exactly what Heidi said, okay, I need to pitch myself to 3 people that I know host podcasts and see if I can be a guest on one of their podcasts. And then by doing that, I'm going to be exposed to potentially and hopefully a new audience of people who maybe haven't seen me before. And then they're going to, hopefully a percentage of them are going to do some research to see what I'm all about. And then those people that do that are going to see what I'm doing. And some percentage of those people are going to like what I'm doing and are going to be involved or ask me for their help or whatever the case may be. And so that is just kind of a chart of asked to be on a podcast all the way up to somebody hiring me to work with them or, somehow, becoming a part of my community and my ecosystem.
And for someone who's thinking, okay, I don't know how to break it down. I don't know what the steps are. I've never attempted to reach this kind of a goal before. Well, that gives you your first step, is even researching, how do other people do this? What is a path that I might take? And maybe that involves some education. Maybe that involves working with someone to figure it out. But, you don't have to know these things. None of us just know them. If you know something's working for you, like I said with the example of the podcast, great. We just keep doing that thing. So, it should get infinitely easier because you're just repeating it. But if you don't know what that thing is, finding out, okay, what could I try? What are other people using? How could I learn? How could I shortcut that? Could I take a course? Could I go through a training that would allow me to cut, months off of that learning curve so I can actually get to, the part where you put it into place? I think we often forget that sometimes we have to learn how to do the thing first.
Well, and one of the things I think sometimes that it was an epiphany I had a while back, and I'm glad I did, because it really kind of changed the trajectory of how I chose to do things for myself. Because at the end of the day, when it comes to learning, it's either you're going to invest money in somebody who already knows what you want to learn and theoretically and hopefully learn it at an accelerated process, or you're going to spend time learning over time, Googling and watching 1,000 YouTube videos and piecing it together, this, that, and the other way. Or maybe you learn from trial and error, which I think a lot of people in our industry do that. They love what they're doing and they say, screw it, I'm just going to figure it out as I go. But I think that, anybody who wants to make this accelerated growth in themselves as an individual and as a business has to understand that there is going to be a cost associated with that. And it's either going to be a financial cost or a time cost. And a lot of times that time cost can end up even being a financial cost that you don't even see until way down the road. And so I love that you brought that up, that we should create this culture within our industry that it is okay to find educational routes. I mean, look at people who get degrees, or look at people who want to go a profession that requires a degree. They've got to go to college. They've got to spend the money to get that degree. Yes, you can go to college online, but what I'm saying is they're not getting a degree by watching a bunch of YouTube videos. Like, there is that investment in themselves to become a better fill in the blank of whatever it is they want to become. And we have to continue to have that culture in our industry to do that as well, I believe.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that. And I think the longer I've been in business, the more I look for shortcuts that I can pay for. If someone has already figured something out, cool. I want you to teach me how to do that. I don't want to go figure it out by myself, because that's going to take a ton of time. I'm not going to get to see results from it. I want it faster. But if you do want to, go the trial and error route, which all of us do in different ways in our business, just make sure that you're doing like that last part of the scientific method and you're actually assessing what worked and what didn't work, so that you can do more of the thing that worked and change the thing, or stop doing altogether the thing that didn't work. Too often we just do the experiment and then we're like, I don't need to look at the results. I'm just going to keep doing stuff.
I love that you said that. I just did a post on Instagram about that the other day. Frank, I know you wanted to say something. Let me just say real quick, just those of you that maybe have just joined us, we are talking with Heidi Thompson tonight. She is the founder and creator of the Wedding Business CEO Summit, which we're going to be talking about in just a little bit here. And we appreciate y'all joining us tonight. Feel free to comment and let us know who's watching. If you have questions for anybody on the show, if you just want to check in and say hello, please feel free to do that in the comments. We love hearing from you guys. This is an interactive show. It's not just about us. It's about those of you that are kind enough to take the time to watch us and be a part of our community. So please feel free to use that comment button and say something to us and let us know you're out there. Frank, over to you, bud.
Yeah. So for me, right, it's all about once you're done with a task, whatever the task is, right, whether it's learning something new or doing something you've always done or whatever the case is, right. In the day job field, we call it like a lessons. We have like lessons learned meetings, right? So it's like, okay, cool. Now that this whole thing is over with, whatever this thing is, what are the things that we've learned, right? And that could be good things. It can be bad things. And if the good things work, then keep doing them, right? And if there's some bad things, then spend some time, troubleshooting them and trying to figure out how to solution them and come up with a new process that's going to work better. And I think when you're a solopreneur, that's another challenging thing to do, right? Is taking that time to look at everything and really understand what you did right and what you did wrong. Because, a lot of us have a hard time admitting we do anything wrong, right? We're all perfect in this world that is weddings. So it's trying to take that moment to really step back, like outside of your own box, put your CEO hat on, which I love that you promote that. That's a huge thing. And really look at it and say, okay, I know I'm in the thick of things and I know I love this thing that I do, but did I do it as good as I could have done it? Could it be better? And I think having that moment with yourself, that like honesty with yourself, will really help you move forward in your business.
It's funny how often, we get lost in the weeds. Whereas, like you said, if you can take a step back, you can see sometimes what the problem is. Like, say, you're working on your marketing and everything's going great and people are coming to your website and they're not submitting an inquiry. Some people will just be like, well, none of this is working. Like, no, it's like 98% of the way there. We just have to focus on the broken part. Why aren't people submitting an inquiry? Maybe the form's broken. I've seen that before. Maybe there's a problem with the usability of the website on a phone. There could be all sorts of different things that you can tweak and change. But I love the idea of making these like 1% changes instead of throwing the whole thing away, because that's so much more work. And I am just not into that.
Yep. So brilliant. Nick, where you at with this, man?
Yeah. And I think I was just going to add the point. I love that point. And it's funny how when you have that 2%, when you finally get it to click, how everything all of a sudden just like that, and it's like, oh wow, that worked, and everything starts flowing just beautifully, and it's awesome. So yeah, I totally agree with that point. And Frank, I loved your point about the accountability as well. I think it's really important to just take that look outside yourself, that perspective, to kind of see, all right, what am I really doing well and what do I need to work on, and just always kind of just moderating or mediating yourself for sure.
I think part of that is what Frank said about, we don't like to admit we're doing things wrong. It's often changing that mindset. I mean, the way I look at failure is like, it basically doesn't exist, because I'm either going to win or I'm going to learn something that helps me turn around and apply it. And then I get to where I wanted to be.
Yep. I was going to say, you either figure out how to do it or you figure out one more way not to do it. But that doesn't mean you failed. That just means you figured out one more way not to do it, and you just go back to the drawing board and keep trying, and keep trying.
Yeah, and it also means that you are trying, right? I mean, how can you get upset with yourself if you're trying, right? So
yeah, and I mean, you're not going to accomplish anything unless you actually attempt it. So
yeah, absolutely.
Heidi, earlier you addressed a little bit about outsourcing, and I just want to maybe touch on that a little bit. What are I think immediately people always think, well, I'm not great at social media, so I'm going to outsource that. Frank was just mentioning earlier that he was able to outsource his social media and things like that, which I think is great. but there's other things that people can outsource to other than social media, right? So what are some of those things that you have seen that when somebody gets to the point where they're in a financial position to do so, and I will also stress and encourage that as you're putting your business plan together, as you're putting your budget together, look into what the cost is for some of these things to outsource. So you don't ever have to keep saying to yourself, like, I can't afford that, I can't afford that, I can't afford that, because you might find out that you can afford that just by, and I've said this on past shows before, just by charging $10, $15, $20 more per event that you do. It's not such a big hit that it's going to affect your booking of events ratio versus not booking them, but it's going to help you cover the expenses of some of these outsourced concepts and ideas. So what are some of those things that you've seen have really worked well for folks?
So I always tell people, don't just look at it as outsourcing business tasks, because there are things that take up our time that aren't business related that, if you were able to free yourself up for an hour, you could dedicate to doing something you actually want to do. So, I mean, this can be as simple as like ordering your groceries, having someone come in and clean instead of you doing it. I know someone who hired someone to come and do like all their meal prep and cooking, and it saved them money because they were going out to eat constantly because they didn't have the time to do it. So, I mean, on the personal side of things, those are often extremely cost effective things that you can outsource. In the business, I would look at things that you aren't good at, things that are a huge time suck for you, things that you don't really want to be doing. Bookkeeping definitely falls into this category for most people. They're not good at it and they don't really want to be doing it. So that's a great thing to get off of your plate. It's going to be different, for everybody, for every business. The first thing I ever outsourced was podcast editing. Am I able to do my own podcast editing? Yes, I did it for a long time. Is it the best way for me as the CEO of the business to be spending my time when I can hand it off to my podcast editor for like less than $20? They can turn it around in way faster of a time and in better quality. No, it's probably not worth me putting my time there. So I like to look at that return on investment of your time. Where are you putting your time in the business where you're not getting a return on it, or where someone else could do that and you could focus on higher level tasks? So like in your mind, is this like a $10 an hour task, $100 an hour task, a $10,000 an hour task? Maybe working with, maybe you're going to collaborate with someone and you're going to create something that's a $10,000 an hour task. Checking your email, probably more like a $10 an hour task, So what are the areas where you're not getting the return on investment of your time? And then what solutions are available? It could be that a piece of software could automate this for you. It could be that you need a person to do it. But usually we overestimate how much that's going to cost because we think about, oh, I have to hire this whole person full time. They're going to be a W-2 employee and I'm going to have to do all these things. I'm going to have to pay for their health care. You could work with a virtual assistant for 5 hours a week and get that time back. I find it hard to believe that you couldn't do something really substantial and really impactful in an extra 5 hours a week that you've just freed up.
Right.
Great point. Yeah, fantastic points.
And to your point earlier about being intentional with things, is the step that we need to definitely not overlook, is that when you do these types of things where you're freeing up that time for yourself, you also need to be intentional about what you're going to do with that time, because it's almost kind of like, when, let's say, like when you have I don't know, like a credit card, or you have an item that maybe you got on, credit for a certain amount of time, and you pay that off. And now all of a sudden I'm just arbitrarily saying, this $179 a month payment that you were paying, you no longer have that $179 payment. Well, that doesn't mean that you have $179 that you can just go willy-nilly with. That means that you potentially have $179 that you could invest in elevating your business, or What you might find that you want to do, which might be a smarter thing to do, is to start a savings account with that money for yourself. Because a lot of us in this industry don't think about that. We don't think about what are we going to do when we're 50, 60, whatever years old, and the body doesn't work the way it used to work, and the mind doesn't work as well. Or you just have been in this industry for 20, 30, 40 years, and you're just burnt out. You're just done, right? If you don't have a plan now for that, no matter where you are on that age spectrum, there's a good start for that $179 right there, is tuck that away in a, in a savings, or, some people are going to say invest it in such and such or whatever. And that's probably not a bad idea either. But point being is this word that we keep coming back to: be intentional with what you're going to do when you free up time and or a resource.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean you have to go back to like spinning your wheels. It could be that you are, freeing up an hour a day for yourself, and you're going to go outside for that hour a day because it makes your brain work better. If you take a break and you go outside, like, it doesn't have to be like, okay, now what other thing can I get done here? Investing in yourself is as much in you, the person, as it is the business.
We've talked about it so many times on this show, right? That it's the time savings. Is the money worth the time, or is the time worth the money? I mean, it's that simple, right? And if you've got something that you feel like can be outsourced in any way, done by anybody else, which quick fact is pretty much anything, despite what some people want to think, right? And Nick can speak to this. He's talked about it before with the outsourcing of the editing, right? You really have to keep yourself sane, right? And if you don't, you're going to burn out quicker, and then you're going to resent the thing that you probably love doing, which is this industry, because you're not in this industry, though the money can be nice, right? Depending on where you're at and your market and all the different things that are kind of going into that can be nice, but ultimately nobody does this job if they don't enjoy helping people celebrate their special day. It just doesn't. You're just not a part of this if that's not in there too, right? Mm-hmm. So you don't want to lose sight of that, and it's really easy to do that when you're overwhelmed with all the stuff. It's really not as important, and can
be the hottest point of the night, man. That was beautiful.
Yeah,
that was.
Oh, thank you.
Hot.
I love it. All right, so let's jump in for the sake of time. I think one of the things that we're trying to do this year too is be more respectful of people's time, because Lord knows last when we were doing these before, sometimes we went on for 2 and 3 hours, and I know, Heidi, you probably have a lot more things better to do than hang out with us that long. So let's
I don't know.
Let's talk a little bit about the Wedding Business CEO Summit. Tell our listeners and viewers what that's all about, what they can expect from that, and why they should look into it.
So the Wedding Business CEO Summit is happening entirely online, February 21st through the 25th. David is speaking, and you should absolutely come see him speak. And the focus of this summit is to really help wedding professionals of all different kinds streamline their business, take back their time, get out of overwhelm, so you can create a business that is more profitable without you having to work all the time, which is like the default mode we get into if we're not actively trying to get away from it. We have 30 different incredible speakers speaking on all sorts of different topics, from, building your team and streamlining your processes and working on yourself, making sure that you don't actually hit burnout and you're figuring out ways to handle stress that aren't killing you. And David has a link right there for you if you want to come join us. And it's going to be a blast. I can't wait. I love helping people with this sort of thing, really reclaiming their time and building the business that they want, building the business that supports the life that they want. And you'll hear from some of our speakers, because they talked about, like shifting their business model and adding different revenue streams. If you just don't want to be at the event anymore, there are ways to build your business so you don't have to do that. There's all sorts of different ways to structure a business. And until we get really intentional about what we want out of it, it's really hard to figure out what that should look like. It doesn't have to just be what everybody else is doing. And our speakers are perfect examples of that are doing really well, not necessarily doing things like the standard way.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I was very honored to be asked to be a part of it. So thank you for that. When I looked at the lineup of people that were speaking, I was like, man, I must have been that guy that they were like, well, we got 29. We really like even numbers. So let's let this guy be in part of it too. And then that'll give us an even 30.
Definitely not. No,
Oh
you have a great talk, and I think people are going to get a lot out of it.
Well, and to that point, I mean, what I love about and you kind of touched on it, is that there is a lot of professional growth type topics that are a part of it, but there's also a lot of personal growth type topics that are going to be a part of it as well. And again, if you've listened to past shows, or if you will allow me to talk to you for any 5 minutes of your life, you'll know that I will always encourage you to work on your brain and your heart as much as you work on your business, because without the two of them, the rest of it doesn't really matter. So yeah, we definitely encourage you all to take a look at it. And it's a steal to be a part of it. That's all I can say. And for those of you that are listening and aren't watching, you can go to weddingbusinessgrowth.com/summit and find out more about it. And hopefully it'll be something you want to be a part of.
Did you say that was weddingbusinessgrowth.com/summit? Is that what you said?
I sure did.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that we got that.
Yeah. Nick, what is it again?
I think it's weddingbusinessgrowth.com/summit.
That's right. Okay. Yes, we got it. All right. Okay. All right. Well, we got a few minutes left. So let's just, a little bit before we go, let's tackle this little thing about managing burnout, not having enough time. What are some tips? What are some pointers that you can give our listeners and viewers as it pertains to that, Heidi?
Okay. So I'm really excited. I'm talking about this topic at the summit, and this is something I had to get really good at, oddly enough, because I have bipolar disorder. So I had to get really good at, when I'm in a situation where my brain is not working the way I want it to work, I need to hack and slash things that do not need to get done right now. So one thing I can give to you that will be super helpful is to distinguish between the tasks that you have on your plate that are important, like they actually do something, they drive your goal forward, and they need to get done now, or something is going to happen, and things that are just like calling your attention. Really look at that. Do I absolutely have to do this thing today? What will happen if I don't? What will happen if I do? Is that result enough for me to do it? So if you were sick, if you were in the hospital, if you could work an hour a day, let's slash it down to just the things that absolutely have to get done. And when we get into this phase of just total overwhelm, the first thing I always tell people is like, just cut everything that doesn't absolutely have to get done. And you can come back to it later. If you need to have like a social media sabbatical for 2 weeks, I would rather you do that than continue doing it and put yourself in jeopardy. So what absolutely must get done, if you have to hit a client deadline, that's one thing. Do I need to post on Instagram today? Is my entire business going to collapse if I don't do that? Or if I haven't outsourced my bookkeeping, if I push that back and then outsource it later, is anything going to actually happen? Probably not. But a lot of people don't know how to separate these things. And it really does take intention to determine, is this just something that's on my list, or is this something that actually has to get done?
I love that. Yeah. Because
you can go from like a 10-hour day to like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And when you're in certain situations where, let's say you get COVID, let's say you just feel terrible, let's say something happened with your family and you can't spend the time, building the skill of being able to quickly look and see all of this can wait. I'm focusing on this. This is all that matters. It's a really, really useful way to get yourself out of situations like that, but also to get yourself out of burnout. Because when you're in burnout, you are just fried. Like, we do not need to be using your brain any more than absolutely required. So it can give you the space to actually come back, as a human being. The more that you can trim from that, and the more you can just get ruthless about it and decide, maybe this does matter, but it can wait till next month, the easier that becomes for you.
Mm. Wow.
Yeah.
Solid.
I love that. Look, the work will be here tomorrow.
Exactly.
It's something that we talk about. It's funny, over the last year and a half, for I've been in the same day job for 10 years. For the first 8.5 years, get it all done. Then everybody went home because of COVID. and now it's, you know what, it'll be there tomorrow, Frank. If you really need to take the afternoon off, go ahead and take the afternoon off. And it's interesting how COVID has kind of forced a different mindset on a lot of people, but it's also been a blessing because we all needed to have that. And being forced to all go home for different amounts of times, like I know Florida was different than Virginia. We were home for a long time. You all weren't home that long, right? It's been a different experience, but even that shorter period of time, just kind of seeing it, just allowing yourself that moment of clarity of, you know what, I do have a home with a family or a whatever, right? Whatever, your cats, your dogs, your kids, whatever it is, right? I go. I need to stop and spend a little more time here and allow myself to recharge more regularly. That'll allow me to be more effective in the other moments where I have to be turned on. Is so important. So yeah, I couldn't agree more. Take the time, show yourself grace, allow yourself permission. Hey, you know what, Frank? It'll be there tomorrow. Put it down, go sit down and watch The Mandalorian with your kids.
Dude,
Yeah,
awesome.
and we railroad over that, and it's funny. I was actually having this conversation with my husband the other day, and I was super tired. I didn't get a good night's sleep, and I was complaining about it. And he was like, "Just go take a nap." And I was like, "Yeah, but I got to do this thing." He was like, "Do you? Or can it wait 2 hours?" I was like, "It can wait 2 hours."
Yeah.
I love that. Well, Heidi, I want to thank you for joining us tonight. Definitely a lot of nuggets came out of this conversation, and I really appreciate you being here with us. And I hope that everybody agrees that there was a lot that came out of this, and we're going to continue to keep having these types of conversations as we move forward. We're going to have quite a few guests from the Wedding Business CEO Summit that are going to be joining us as well on upcoming episodes of Wedding Business Growth Live. So you'll be able to hear from some of them. And if you haven't done it, don't forget, go by and check out weddingbusinessgrowth.com/summit, as Frank is pointing to, and now Nick. Go check that out and, get on board with that. Also, if you haven't joined our text community, that is where we let you know when events are going to be happening or shows are going to be happening, or if we're taking a week off, we'll let you know about that. Just text your name to 530-388-5412. We will get that text from you, and we will make sure to let you know what's going on. Sorry. And what did Chris just say? Now it's the Book of Boba Fett. Yeah. So there's a new thing for you guys to be watching over there.
Yeah. They've already forced me to start watching it, but it's okay though. I only say that so I don't sound as dorky as I really am.
It's okay to be dorky, man. Aren't we all?
I'm definitely a Star Wars nerd. Yeah. It's
Love
okay.
it. All right, Heidi, any last words before we get out of here?
Come join us at the summit if you want to get out of overwhelm and you want to put yourself in a position to build a business that doesn't take up all of your time, that doesn't have you working constantly, that doesn't have you in struggling, starving artist mode, because that is so optional. Come join us. You are going to get a ton out of it, and you are going to be able to start making changes in your business to give you your time back, which I am very excited about.
I think we should get t-shirts that say struggling artist mode optional.
Yeah,
I love it.
Ooh, I like that.
That's
I
awesome.
love that. Nick, what do you got for us?
I just really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for being with us. A lot of great points that came out of this, a really good conversation. Yeah, I just can't thank you enough for being on with us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Frank, you want to talk a little bit about our guests next week?
Oh, wait a minute. Who's our next week? Hold on. See,
It was your invite.
Oh, okay. All right. I can't remember the dates. I don't have the calendar in front
It
of me.
was your invite.
Yeah, so I am super excited because Jenny and Jay Holla are coming back. So it's our Holla Back episode with the Hollas. I
I
couldn't be
love
more
that.
excited. Yeah, no, you know what? Really interesting, right? Like, right, everybody met on Clubhouse. That's kind of what happened in the wedding industry through COVID. Everybody kind of got like bored. We're sitting at home, had nothing to do. Clubhouse happens, and now all of a sudden you've got all these new friends. Jenny and Jay, they check in with me regularly. Just hey man, how you doing? What you up to? So they were just fresh on my mind. So when we said, hey, it's time to get this thing going again, first people that came to my mind, I was like, we got to have a Holla Back episode. We got to talk a little music again, you know, the Missy Elliott and everything. So I couldn't be more excited. Yeah, we're gonna have them back. They talk all positivity, all self-care, all wellness. Is kind of what they promote, and they are great at it, and I'm super excited that they'll be here next week.
They are also
Awesome.
very gloves off, so it may not be ones that you want to have the kids watch.
That's true. Yeah.
Because they are definitely not afraid to have us teeter-totter on the algorithm.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know what? They're genuine. They're authentic.
Yeah.
I mean, you really can't. You can't get much better than that, especially in this industry where there's a lot of people out there that are always prim and proper, no questions asked. That's how they're going to present. Like, no, this is a different wedding community than it used to be. This is a different private event community than it used to be. And the Hollas are the epitome of what that is and what that looks like.
It's all about authenticity. I think that's
So-
what you're going to get from them. I think that's what you're going to get definitely from the three of us. And I think that we attract the same kind of people to be on the show with us, which is just authentically themselves and passionate about helping people get better at what they want, that they, like you said earlier, if you love doing this and you want to do this, why not continue to get better at it, So, all right. Well, thank you very much, Heidi, for joining us tonight. We really appreciate you being on with us. Nick, Frank, good to see you guys again. And everybody watching, we appreciate you doing that. We hope you'll come back next week. We will be back live again next Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So until then, have a good week. We'll see you soon.